Sound the alarm. Roquan Smith is holding out of training camp. We'll explain why in just a second. If you're here, thanks for being here. Sports Talk Chicago with Jon Zaghloul. Make sure you subscribe, like this video, and set up the notification bell. We have interviews with Bears players and coverage of all your favorite Chicago sports teams. If you want more info, if you want to find my social links, go to sportstalkchicago.com. That's sportstalkchicago.com for every single podcast, article, interview, and social links. sportstalkchicago.com is the place to be. I want to start today with this. Business isn't always pretty. A lot of times, people are fueled by money, fueled by greed, and they make wrong decisions or greedy decisions that cost them later. I'm not saying Roquan Smith is greedy, but I will say this. He's already held out once. We've been through this already. As a rookie, he held out, didn't come back till pretty much game one of the season. He played, he performed, but regardless, he already held out. New GM, contract coming up almost, and he's holding out again. There's a pattern here. Not saying he's greedy, but there's a pattern. And it's a scary pattern to me. If I were GM, why is he holding out again? You could argue the Bears aren't paying him what he's worth, but here's what he wants, according to Brad Biggs, and then I'll tell you what he's worth. Quote, he could be in line for an extension that puts him at or near the top of the food chain for off-the-ball linebackers. That figure's approaching $20 million annually. Indianapolis Colts All-Pro Shaquille Leonard currently makes $19.7 million per year. He's the highest paid off-the-ball linebacker. Sources say that Smith is being advised by a family member he does not have an agent. There's a lot to unpack there. Let me start with this. Roquan Smith is not an All-Pro. He's a second-team All-Pro. He's a good linebacker. Is Roquan Smith the best linebacker at his position? That's the question we have to ask. And I understand this might ruffle some feathers, but this is the truth. If you want to be paid to be the best, you better be the damn best. Is Roquan Smith the number one off-the-ball linebacker in football? I don't know. And if I don't know, if it's not clear and apparent, he's probably not. Might be top 5, top 10, but does that mean he deserves $19.7 million per year or $20 million per year? Does he deserve to outpace Shaquille Leonard? Probably not. And it's a hard pill to swallow for him and for many of you Bears fans, but the question is he at that point? And the answer is no. Roquan Smith is not a Pro Bowler, and Roquan Smith has never been an All-Pro. He's been a second-team All-Pro with the AP, but never a first. There's a reason why. You could argue the Bears have always sucked, but I think the better reason is he just hasn't been at that point yet. He hasn't played up to that caliber yet. Maybe he will get there. And he's obviously an elite player. Maybe top 10 for sure at his position. But to say number one, to say he deserves that much money, probably not. Got to look at this contextually. Does it make sense to pay Roquan Smith the most money at his position if he's not number one at his position? No. He's not. And it doesn't make sense to do it. There's the second part. He's been advised by a family member. Now, really, I'm not too opposed to that, but this family member's obviously out for money. I'm okay with being advised by a family member. That's fine. Family first. Great. But you're listening to the same family member that you probably listened to when you were a rookie. This is the second time you've held out. And what do you want? $20 million per year? For being not the best player at your position? This doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that Roquan Smith sucks. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's a great player. He deserves to be paid. But to be the number one paid at his position, he doesn't deserve that. It doesn't make sense to do it. There's a difference. According to the article from Sports Mockery, quote, there's a strong likelihood that the family member Roquan Smith is working with also has a limited background in negotiating NFL deals. Thank you. No blank, Sherlock, obviously. Probably not. And I agree with this. This is not Ryan Poles' problem. Let's make sure we get that out there too. This is not a Ryan Poles issue. Some people have actually blamed Poles for this. I'm not saying I'm defending Ryan Poles. This is not a Ryan Poles issue though. How is this on him? It's a pattern. It doesn't matter who the general manager is. He held out under Pace. He's holding out under Poles. He's listening to family members, and he wants to be paid top dollar when he's not the top at his position. It makes no sense. It's like you're talking to a wall. And that's why this is not a Poles issue. This is a Roquan Smith issue. He needs to get his head on his shoulders a little bit here. I get this Bears team is not going to go anywhere this year. I get they're ways away. But you still got to be there for your team to lead. If you want to be a leader, if you think you are a leader, be there. New GM, new coach, second-year quarterback. Be there to lead. And get your damn contract done. Come on. So what? You won't be paid $20 million? What a shame. Take the 18, take 19, whatever it is. Whatever it's going to be. There's a reason why you're not at that pay grade yet. Then play better. Be an all-pro, a real all-pro, not a second-teamer. It's just frustrating because there's a pattern here. This is not a one-time thing. This happened already as a rookie. And although Roquan Smith is a good player, even that holdout at the beginning really was not justified. And this one is not justified either. 2 holdouts, not justified. Either of them, in my opinion. You're only hurting your team, you're hurting yourself, and you're putting negative blame on the new GM when it's really a you problem. This is a Roquan Smith problem. And instead, he's making sure everybody writes the bad story about Poles. No, Roquan, get it together. Pick a real agent or use your family member and understand how contracts work and understand what you need to do to be the #1 paid off-the-ball linebacker in football. Newsflash, you're not an all-pro, so you shouldn't be getting paid that much money. It's levels of compensation, levels based on your performance. If you want to be paid $20 million, make a couple of all-pro teams. Then we could talk. Or $21 million, whatever the number is going to be. You're a great linebacker, but you're not that great. You're not to that point where you're an all-pro yet. So the writers and your peers don't think you're there yet. You may think you're there, but other people don't think you're there. And the person who's getting paid at that amount, everybody else thinks he is there. See? So no justifiable reason to hold out. None. It's just another ploy. It's another distraction. And frankly, it's annoying. Here's the problem, too, with all of this. There's a false perception for Roquan. See, Roquan thinks he's there, but really, he might be a little bit down here. And while that's okay, it's affecting the team. It's affecting Ryan Poles. It's affecting how everybody's clicking defensively in these practices. So really, it's affecting Matt Eberflus, too. All these problems are coming of this. Just be honest. Do a real self-evaluation. Don't listen to a family member. Don't listen to yourself. Let's do a self-evaluation based on numbers, based on accolades, based on the truth. The truth is, he's probably top 5 at his position, but he's not #1. So should he be paid #1 money? No. End of story. Should he be holding out and making Ryan Poles look like an idiot in this case? No. No, he shouldn't be. These are things that need to be resolved, and they need to be talked out. I don't know what the situation is in regards to meeting about it, but there needs to be another meeting between Poles and his family member and Smith, and this needs to be worked out now. Now, before the season really kicks into start. There needs to be a resolution today. And I would hope that logic would reign here. Logic. You may disagree with my opinion, but it's all logical. It's 100% logical. Roquan Smith is not the #1 player at his position. Therefore, he should not be making the top money at his position. He thinks he should, but the fact is he isn't. He thinks he is #1, but the fact is he's not. We have to think about this stuff. This doesn't mean I'm taking sides. I'm just telling the truth about this. And I get it. Everybody, in general, has a false perception of themselves. I'm sure I do. Everybody does. You always think you're going to be better than what society says you are, and that's fine. But see, here we have quantifiable numerical proof that he's not there. We know Roquan Smith is not number one at his position. He's top 5, not number 1. But he wants to be paid number 1 money. That's it. End of story. You know what they say, too? Maybe there's one problem, and you don't know who started it. But if the problem happens again with the same person, it's a them problem. This is the second time we've seen Roquan Smith hold out. The first time, okay, back and forth, Ryan Pace. We get it. There are issues. But now it's happening again with a new GM. This is a Roquan Smith problem. And it needs to be resolved now. And he needs to be back on the field for his team. So my hope is that this gets resolved soon. But for all of you who are wondering about the situation, I suggest look at the numbers and look at the accolades. I'll be the first one to tell you I love Roquan Smith. I think he's a very talented, top 5 at his position type player. But for him to suggest that he deserves number 1 money for not being number 1 is ridiculous. And hopefully that idea gets changed a bit, or else he's going to be hurting himself and the Bears moving forward. Thanks for watching today's show here at VPod TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can find all of my stuff at sportstalkchicago.com. Social links, articles, podcasts, and video interviews. And subscribe here to the YouTube channel for more interviews, more special guests, and more fiery monologues like these. So long, everyone.